Hello, we are on the Unit 1 Day 7 note, and this is the second video. So in this example, we're going to learn how to plot points in three-dimensional space, and it is going to be a fair bit more complicated than plotting points in two-dimensional space in R2 on our nice like XY axis. We had a much easier time. What we're going to want to do is basically like this old slide from the previous video. We're going to want to be able to draw the X, Y, and Z axes and then plot a point in 3 dimensions by basically drawing this rectangular prism that shows how far in the X direction it goes, how far in the Y direction, and how far in the Z direction. And by drawing that rectangular prism with those dotted lines, we're going to be able to sort of make this look like it's like popping out of that flat paper and look three-dimensional, because obviously there's a lot of points that you might plot them on there, but it may not really look any different than lots of other points unless you draw the corresponding rectangular prism to show how that's connected to each of the axes. So when I do this, I'm just going to kind of, for consistency's sake, I'm going to keep this drawn with the same colors. You will absolutely need a ruler. So I'm going to draw in my axes. And this, we're going to take some time with this, especially in the first one, to really kind of go slow and set this up in a way that we're going to be able to visualize this a little bit better. So I'm drawing my axes X, Y, and Z. I'm labeling those letters on the positive side. So where I've labeled my X, Y, and Z, those are the positives. The other ones that are unlabeled are going to be the negatives. So I have kind of a methodology when I'm going through this with how I plot the points that are going to be the 8 vertices of the rectangular prism that we need to draw. So the first one is easy. We need 8, so again, we need 8 vertices because we're going to be drawing a rectangular prism. So I'm just going to kind of list out what those are. So the first one is the origin, 0, 0, 0. That's going to be a point in your rectangular prism. That's one of the vertices of your rectangular prism for sure. Okay. The next step is to plot points on the X, Y, and Z axes. So really what that's going to look like is from back here, we're going to plot these points. There's the X, there's the Y, and there's the Z. So just going straight along just one axis. Now we've got, once you get that, you've got 4 out of the 8 vertices of your rectangular prism. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to kind of maintain the same color coding as what was done on that original slide that was kind of in general. So we're just, again, sorry, we're going to do this first one, and I'll do S and T on a later page. So I'm going to go 2 So on the x-axis, we've got a 2. On the y-axis, we've got a 4. And on the z-axis, we have a 5. So I'm going to count out in each direction, kind of roughly about a centimeter there, and then I'm going to space these along the x-axis as well. So now the second step, once I've plotted my origin, which I have there, I'm going to go 2 in the positive x direction and put a point. Now I'm going to go 4 in the positive y direction and put a point there. Find my blue. Then I'm going to go 5 in the positive z direction. And this is absolutely one that you guys should be trying on paper. Do a few of these on paper during this video to make sure that you're able to do these yourself. There will, for sure, I always have one test question that is plot a point in 3D. You need to have this skill and be able to do it. The next step, I do need to use a pencil because there's a lot of potential mistakes that can get made here. We're going to now plot 3 points. One will be on the XY plane. One will be on the XZ plane. And one will be on the YZ plane. So the way we're going to do this, and actually probably the one on the last one on the YZ plane is going to make the most sense, because if these are 4 vertices, the origin, the red point, the green point, and the blue point are 4 vertices, that's kind of like the corner of our box. We have to complete the box by building out sides. Now, the number 1 rule when you're doing this is that all of your lines that you draw must be parallel to one of the axes. So I'm going to draw a real faint line here that's parallel to the z-axis. Then I'm going to go to the blue dot and draw a real faint line that's parallel, whoops, that's not very parallel, parallel to the y-axis. So where those 2 lines meet, I'm going to put a point. So I'm going to put a point right there at the intersection. I'm actually just going to stretch out my negative x-axis a little bit further just so it doesn't interfere with that point. So I've got that point right there, and that rectangle there is a rectangle along the that lies flat on the YZ plane. Now I can put dotted lines in here, and this dotted line is going to be in green here because it goes color coded according to that other diagram. That's going parallel to the y-axis, which is labeled in green. And then this vertical line is parallel to the z-axis, which is our blue. Okay, so we've got our blue in the z direction and green in the y, and then red for the x, and that's the same color coding there. So this, again, do it in pencil because it is so easy. Shaking the camera all over the place here with my erasing. It is so very easy to make a mistake or draw a line crooked. You don't want to do this in pen. the first time, if at all. If the color coding doesn't help you, absolutely just do the whole thing in pencil. That's totally fine. So the next one I'm going to do maybe along the XY plane. Remember that picture that had this? So remember how the XY plane was kind of the graph paper-ish picture there that was lying flat regardless of that Z coming up. So I'm going to do the same kind of thing again. I'm going to draw a line through the red point parallel to the Y axis. So I'm just going to draw a faint pencil line there. Then I'm going to draw a line through the green point and make sure that it's parallel to the x-axis. So this is going to make parallelograms, which is actually what you would do if you were trying to draw a rectangular prism in 3 dimensions. So I'm going to, where they intersect, put a dot, and then I'm going to take my red pen just to keep my color coding going here. Stuff that's going in the X direction, as it was on that other diagram, is going to be red, and stuff that's going in the Y direction is green. You never, ever, ever draw a line on this diagram that's not parallel to one of the 3, X or Y or Z. So once I get that, I'm going to erase these guys, erase my pencil marks, and I've got another point. So now I have my original point, the 3 on the axes, and now I have 1, 2, I'm going to form another one out here, creating the sides. So the last one is on the XZ plane. So here I draw a line parallel to the Z axis through that X point, and I draw another line parallel to the X axis through the Z point. And that gives me the location here of the point that's on the XZ plane. So I'm going to have 4 points on each plane. The origin is on all 3 of those, X, Y, XZ, and YZ. The X point and the Z point are obviously on the XZ plane. Then I have to find that 4th, and that rectangle looks like a parallelogram because we're drawing in 3D. That forms a rectangle on the XZ plane. Then there's a rectangle on the YZ plane and a rectangle on the XY plane. So I'm going to color code these again. I might wait till the end to erase all of the rest of the stuff. And this is blue going up and down there. Okay. Now the last point is kind of the hardest one to get, and that's the actual point that we're looking for. I want to draw point R. So the last point, connect 3 points to find P. So the 3 points that you're connecting are these 3 points. So again, we want to make sure that we never ever draw a line that's not parallel to one of the axes. So this point here, we have a line parallel to X, we have a line parallel to Y. So I'm going to draw another line from that point that's parallel to Z. Now this point, we have one parallel to Z, we have one parallel to Y. I'm going to draw another line that's parallel to X. The last one here, we have one parallel to X, we have one parallel to Z. We're going to draw one parallel to Y. And those come together out here to form the actual point that we're looking for. That's my point R, which is 2, 4, 5. So I'm going to again color code these. And I think I might just wait and erase the pencil marks when I'm done the video because it was shaking the camera like crazy. Finish drawing these in. Again, you don't have to color code them. If it doesn't help you, don't worry about it. But I think it can kind of help some people for sure to see how all of the green lines are parallel to the y. All of the red lines are parallel to the x, and all of the blue are parallel to the z. And that brings us out to that point. Now, if you were asked to draw the vector OR, here we're going to go from the origin out to point R and label that with the vector. So that's the end of that question. I am going to go through and do 2 more, but I'm going to put those in a separate video just in case you're pretty comfortable with this. You can skip ahead to the last example.